up, guys?
Hello.
Episode number
Diaz.
10. Diaz. Episode number 10. Diaz? Yeah.
I should know.
I don't know. I only know.
Uno, tres.
What is it in French?
Uno, tres.
What is it in French? What is it in French?
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete, ocho, nueve, diez. Yeah.
Okay. I think neuf, or like neuf is 9 in French, or something weird like that. What's 10? I don't know what 10 is in French. I used to. Episode number 10.
In a roundabout way.
And today, we're going to go deep on yoga.
Put on your goggles.
Put on your goggles. Your scuba gear.
Yep.
We're going to go some deep waters on yoga. What does that mean? So.
To yoke, unite.
Union. So Kayla, she has her yoga certification to teach. So what is it called? Is it? It's Hatha yoga, right? That involves lots of different. You learn Kriya, you learn Kundalini, you learn all kinds of stuff in your training.
Yeah, it's not a specific.
Right. And I'm a resiliency trainer at Hill Air Force Base, but I'm working on getting my Master Resiliency Trainer certification. So that's how I'm educating myself in those areas too. Plus, we've learned a lot about Buddhist philosophy and yogic philosophy, and we've been talking about a lot of things in this podcast about happiness and well-being, right? And so that's, B.Bloomed's yoga, meditation, mindfulness, inspiration. So,
and those things have helped facilitate our personal transformations, and so we thought we could get into that a little bit.
So we were talking today about, the more subtle aspects of life versus like the more tangible, solid, physical things of life. And it's easy to neglect the physical thing, the subtle aspects. That can be easier to neglect,
right? Because
your attention gets drawn to the more tangible things right in front of us.
You're not always looking within,
looking within, really checking in with yourself.
Yeah.
But that can happen on such different levels of depth, right? So you can sit there and notice you're feeling angry, right? You can notice it. Maybe that doesn't stop you from saying something, right? And we all slip up.
Right.
But if you can get more in touch with those subtle areas, you cannot be such a prick sometimes, or whatever your thing is that you're trying to battle with. So yoga, meditation, mindfulness, these are practices that teach you to get more in touch with those subtle areas. What's your take on that from the yoga perspective? I'm going to turn this light off.
Okay. I mean, I feel like it's uniting the more tangible things with the untangible. It's finding that union within yourself.
I'm bumping this tape like crazy. Don't mind me.
Rocking the boat.
Yeah, union. Once again, yoga, union.
Right.
That's beautiful. Yeah, uniting the subtle with the less subtle.
Creating the union between those. Noticing how one can affect the other, and being able to recognize and maybe change some habits because you're noticing the things that are going on within you.
Yeah, you can break down those things that have been stopping you from admitting to yourself some of the things you're doing that aren't so skillful, or the things that are preventing your growth or hurting your relationships or whatever they are, or even deep psychological things like self-doubt and fear. We struggle with that quite a bit trying to build a business, and it's you versus you, and yoga and meditation, mindfulness, understanding certain things about your subtle energy. So let's talk about what does that mean. So how do you tap into those more subtle areas? Right? So meditation helps with that, because you're sitting and you're focusing on the breath, but you're not just focusing on the breath to learn about breath. You're focusing on the breath so the mind can have something to focus on, to then create that separation between you and your body and your thoughts and your emotions. Because what happens is, we were talking about the water experiment.
Right.
This is a perfect example of how the subtle things affect the physical things. So the water experiment was Dr. Oh my gosh, how do you pronounce his name? A Japanese scientist. I want to say Emoto. I think it was something. His first name something other, and his last name Emoto. Japanese scientist. They took water, put it in these petri dishes or whatever. Had some practitioner, or I think it was just him. It was him. He blessed, loving kindness, blessing this one water, and then he either did nothing or like put negative intentions in the others. It was something like that, right?
Right.
Then he freezes them, and when they come out of the freezer, they look at the crystals in the water, and then the crystals in the water have these perfect geometrical shapes. And I think I'll try to edit together a picture of this on when I edit this video. And then the one with the loving intentions have these beautiful geometrical shapes, and the ones with the either nothing, neglected or negative intentions had this really ugly, it just looked disordered pattern of crystals. So this is a repeatable result, and so
they've done it with rice too.
Rice, yep. And so like these thoughts, these negative thoughts and the positive thoughts had an effect on the water. Our body is mostly Our body is mostly water. And then if your water's in that, the water of your body's in that discombobulated state, what does it do to your tissues?
Right.
So it gets less and less subtle. So on the subtle level, it's like emotional or even deeper, energetic. This is the yoga part. And then that energy, like the water kind of takes on that energy. And then now the water is even less subtle, getting into your tissues, and it creates this feedback loop of negative energy, right? I know it sounds woo-woo and hippie and stuff, but if you consider the water experiment and all other kinds of science, right? We've looked into all kinds of different, we have a subscription to a science journal where we can read all about the positive effects of meditation, mindfulness, yogic breathing. There are some yogic breathing techniques that were shown to improve your neurogenesis, like how fast you can grow brain cells. So there's known, we've studied, they've done the science, so we have these ancient techniques that are scientifically proven, right? And then you have modern version of that, like, I won't say modern versions of it, but like things like goal setting, right? And things like good listening. And that's been proven to improve your well-being, right? So in yoga, you can do things like Kriya, or meditations like focusing on the chakra systems, where you really tune in with the mind, and like Om chanting, where you actually tune in on certain areas of the body, but you try to get in tune with the chakra system, which is a very subtle version or a map over the physical body, and you feel physical sensations in your body when you're focusing on the chakras and the visualizations and the meditations, right? And the whole intent, and I'll let you take it after this, but the whole intent is that when you focus on your mind-body connection in that kind of way, in the moment when emotions are coming up and circumstances are happening, you can notice the physical sensations of anger or frustration, or you're like trying to be cognizant of a tone of voice. You increase your spiritual ear.
Yeah, that's a great way.
Or your spiritual eye for like seeing and hearing things that are more subtle. So what do you think? So it's so hard to like tell you exactly what to do unless you just try it. Like there's certain meditations.
There's breathing exercises that can help purify. Meditations that you can do. Also, just smile. Like that's positive energy. Like
that's scientifically proven too. That when you actually just physically smile, it sends signals and releases hormones in your brain. And there's even some meditations where you actually sit there and you're like, you express the face like this, like nothing's making me laugh right now, but it's a physical act of. I know it's weird, like you look so weird, but how good does it feel when you're doing that?
Yeah, I mean, you want to just laugh.
I don't want to stop doing it. I want to talk like this with a smile on my face
for the rest of the
forever.
day. Okay.
But that's more like joy.
Yeah.
So joy is a less subtle version of just that piece of stillness of interconnectedness. So it sounds so woo woo, but like let me give you like a real example. What about you? Like, do you want to walk them through some of the visual meditations that you have learned that like enhance that mind-body connection?
They're kind of long.
We can't just like give like a little synopsis. What of the? You want me to keep talking?
Well, I mean,
I want you to say something.
There's simple ones like starting at 50 and counting back by twos. You know.
Right, but I'm talking about like visualizations that help you connect, like improve that mind-body connection. Because the body is we're talking about like subtle things and like less subtle things, right? Mm-hmm. So our bodies is very tangible, so it's a bit less subtle than like our emotions and thoughts. Okay, and then the chakras get even more subtle. So, in yoga, they have the subtle body and then like the astral body. Mm-hmm. It's like, but in Buddhism, that's the mind-made body. So you're really making a mind-body connection, right? And that helps you. And like you ask, okay, well, it sounds woo-woo, right? But aren't emotions woo-woo?
Yeah.
What about love? Can you show me an equation for love? Can you take out love and can you put it in a shape and I can hold it? No, it's a very subtle thing, but we all accept it as being a real thing because we feel it. Well, that's woo-woo. How you love somebody, you're woo-woo. But do you see what I'm saying though? Because it's not just love. There's all kinds of things that are subtle in our experience. So
even just like when you're meditating, focusing on like the heart chakra is represented by the color green. So imagining a green globe pulsing and getting bigger and bigger, and then eventually that green glow is engulfing your whole body.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. So you're like imagining. Mm-hmm. You're also imagining it. So the chakras, it's a map of the body because they want you to mentally connect with this subtle energetic thing called a chakra along your spinal column, right? But you will feel physical sensations in your body when you're doing the meditation. So like when I'm doing, I've been doing Om Japa Kriya. It's a visualization meditation in Kriya. And Kriya is really a system for practicing Kundalini yoga. That's kind of what it feels like to me. It's how you work with the Kundalini energy, right? Mm-hmm. But they run you through the chakras. You're sitting there in your meditation position. You're like, you say Om out loud, and you mentally connect to each chakra, and they are located inside the center of the spine at very specific locations. So the root, you got Muladhara, you got Svadhisthana, it's your sacral, and then you have your help me out here, Manipura, your solar plexus, Manipura, so like that, but right at your navel, they say in Kriya. A lot of people say it's higher up, but in Kriya they say it's like right at the navel. So the bottom three are much lower. The heart chakra, Anahata, and then you have Vishuddha, which is your throat chakra, and then you have your Ajna, or your third eye, or your medulla. And there's other points along here for the crown, and the medulla, and your third eye, but it's just a map of the body for you to cycle through, and you really connect.
And it's not necessarily a specific point. It's an idea of where it is. It's different in everybody.
Yeah, people actually know it's the same place, but some people are taller, some people are shorter, right? So it is at very specific places, and that's what they teach in Kriya. It is in very specific places, and it's inside the spine, right? It's a little. They say it's a little point where you're. It's like an energy. It's a subtle thing. It's not like a real like molecule or anything, right? It's a subtle energy. You just connect with those points, but you don't have to think about it as being a real thing. It's a map of the body for you to actually sit quietly and forget about your grocery list and all your responsibilities at work and at home, and just sit there and connect your awareness to those points along the. I mean, think about it. The spine is like our energy channel for our body, right? So there's all these interesting practices. Once you get into them, you can just meditate. That's cool. Mm-hmm. And that's also mind-body connection. But the point is, we could really go on this for hours, and our time is about up. Mm-hmm. So we're going to wrap it up. Do you have anything you want to say before we go, Kayla?
Namaste.
B.Bloomed.
B.Bloomed.